Hello and welcome to Fave Five From Fans, the podcast where I, Jamie Ray, your humble host, invite a friend of mine to create a top 5 list of their favorite things that we have a shared interest in. Next, we sit down to compare and contrast, dissect and disseminate our choices for you, the listening audience, and we let you decide who's right, who's wrong, and will we still be friends after this. So strap in for this episode of Fave Five From Fans. Hi, Gus.
Hey, Jamie.
It's nice to have you today. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Thank you, listeners, for joining us. This is going to be Gus and I's third shared one. Super Gus is becoming a regular on the show.
Yes, I am.
So today we thought we would talk about favorite movie sequels. And to me, the best sequel, what does that mean? So to me, it means it's got to be a movie that either elevates the story from the first movie,
right,
or it continues the story or builds on it in another way, instead of just making it a longer story.
Right, I will agree with you on both counts.
Okay. That's very smart of you. So I sat down, like we always do, and I made a huge list. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, these are all horror movies. And I thought to myself, well, wait a minute, I know there's got to be other sequels because, I'm a movie fan too. So then I had to go back and say, okay, well, let's add some sci-fi to it. Let's add some action features to it.
Okay, I had the opposite problem.
Oh, really?
Most of my list was science fiction.
Oh, okay.
And then I had to go, well, let's kind of break it up a little.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, think about all the movies you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And, think of the sequels and which one did you enjoy the most.
Right. And again, this is about what's your favorite.
Yes.
So listeners, if you don't agree with our choices, that's okay. Because your favorites and our favorites are going to be different. That's why there's 31 flavors of ice cream. It's all about what it means to us. So I guess, Gus, if you're ready, I'm ready to jump in, both feet.
I am too, but I'm going to start off with something different.
Okay, then.
If we're talking about favorite sequels, we should at least mention at least one hated sequel.
Oh, I've got so many of those, Gus. I think we've already discussed Lawnmower Man Part 2.
No.
But please, give us one of yours.
Okay. Mine is Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2.
Oh, God. Perfect example of a movie not having anything to do with the first one.
This was an obvious money grab.
Oh, it so was.
I loved the first Blair Witch. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was new. It was
it's groundbreaking.
The whole camcorder thing, just all the shaking and whatnot. It was a great movie.
It was.
The Book of Shadows
was a steaming pile of...
What is this?
Witch poop.
Yes.
I've watched it once. I barely made it through it, and I've never gone back to it. So I couldn't even tell you. I know it takes place in a little elevated warehouse studio thing in the woods, but aside from that, I don't know.
That's all I could tell you also, because it was so bad, I blocked it out from my memory.
That's a good thing.
It was atrocious. How the producers or the studio signed off on this, like it had to have been a money grab, and they just put something out there, and we're never going to capture the magic of the original one, so
right.
Just put something out,
right.
Which is really messed up because there was a sequel after that, which was better.
I never saw a sequel after that.
There is. It got very little fanfare. But it was a lot better. It more captured the spirit of the first movie.
Got you.
It was actually Heather's brother going to look for her.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, it wasn't as good as the first one, but it was still better than the second one. But yes, that is my most hated sequel.
Well, I can get behind that because the Blair Witch was like eating a bad mushroom because you were okay while you were in it, the sequel, right. And then you start getting sick, and then you just never want another mushroom again. And that's the Blair Witch for me. Oh, so now you've put me on the spot. Good for you, Gus. Most hated. Well, I wouldn't necessarily most hated, but I would say the weirdest sequel to me has probably got to be The Exorcist Part 2.
You see, I've seen it like decades ago.
Right, with the giant locusts and all that stuff.
I don't remember being impressed by it, but I don't really remember being upset at it.
It was just weird. It's like watching Shock Treatment, and you see some of the same people, but they're kind of different now. So you know Shock Treatment, right?
The movie?
Yeah.
No, never seen it.
The sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show.
No.
Oh yeah. Okay. Don't. Okay. That would make a good podcast, actually. Did you know there was a sequel?
I did know, but I've never seen it.
Yeah. No. Good. All right. Well, let's throw the gauntlet down, Gus. Let's get your number 5 movie sequel.
Okay. My number 5 favorite movie sequel is 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Wow.
Released in 2016. Mm-hmm. It was directed by Dan Trachtenberg.
Okay.
If I said that correctly. I love this movie.
It's one of our hometown guys, John Goodman.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know where it was filmed at?
Yeah.
You know where it's supposed to be placed
It's supposed to be placed at here in Louisiana.
Yes. In fact...
outside of Lake Charles, right?
Right. Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Yeah. Shout out to Kevin.
What I love most about this is that, basically there's one location where they filmed at, in the bunker. Mm-hmm. And it was just 3 people. It was John Goodman, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and John Gallagher Jr.
Yeah, I remember them.
And, they had to carry the movie amongst the 3 of them.
Right.
There was a lot of tension in the movie because you didn't really know, looking at it from the character's point of view, Michelle,
right,
who was portrayed by Winstead, she didn't know if there was actually an apocalypse going on.
Right. She just wakes up pretty much, and they're telling her the world's ended. Right.
So there was a lot of tension there. Like, is he telling the truth? We as the viewer knew that there was some truth to it because
from the other movies,
it's a Cloverfield movie.
Right.
So just the whole movie, it was great. When she actually, spoiler alert, when she actually escapes and she sees, wow, he was telling the truth.
Right.
I loved it. Now, keep in mind that this is a sequel to Cloverfield, but in my mind, in name only.
Oh, okay.
The monsters doesn't show up. There is an alien invasion, but it's like they're not really connected now. Reading about it, they're independent movies, but the Bad Robot, the studio, is trying to intertwine them. Oh,
create their own little universe there.
Right.
Okay.
It adds to it. Like I said, it was a really good movie.
Yeah, I did. I remember enjoying it. I did. I only saw it the one time. So
I think I've seen it once or twice.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good one.
It was understated.
Right.
It's just like, to me, it was more like the drama between the 3 main characters.
Yeah, because you didn't know what was really going on until definitely the 3rd act.
Because in the end, we don't know what John Goodman's character, Howard, we don't really know what his motivations were.
Right.
There are 2 thoughts about this. Some think that he actually had a wife and child, and the wife took the child away. So that's why he was going around abducting girls to replace his daughter.
That makes sense.
The other camp thinks that he never had a wife or daughter. He was just psychotic, kidnapping young women till he got tired of them and killing them.
That also makes sense.
Exactly. So, either way, it was a good movie.
Excellent. So let's drop my number 5.
Okay.
And because it's my show, my number 5 is 2 sequels. I loved Return of the Living Dead. Leanna Quigley, dancing up on the tombstones and the half dogs. Everything was it was a wonderful, wonderful movie. And so then a couple of years later, there's the sequel to Return of the Living Dead, Part 2. And I'm thinking, oh, how cool. And I go to start to look at it, and it's got the same people in it. And I'm thinking to myself, not only was there a, spoiler alert, nuclear blast to wipe out the town from Part 1, half of them were zombified or eaten before that happened. And yet here they are again. So I sit down to watch it, and sure enough, it's the same actors
Okay.
but all playing different characters.
All right. I'll be honest. I've seen both of them once. I was not that impressed.
Well, and that's okay, because this is a different type of zombie film.
It was.
You know, it was originally based on some of Dan O'Bannon's designs, and it has this whole look to it that you know, like the barrel zombie who comes out from the first one.
Right.
You know, it's just, they're perfect. And then you've got the zombie ambulance drivers. Send more cops. You know, I mean, it's got so much. But 2 really, I thought, did a great job by taking those people and putting them into kind of the same situation, but then mixed them up a little bit.
To me, that's confusing.
Well, I can understand what you're saying. But at the same time, to me, you don't see that often. True. I mean, outside of Tarantino movies where he uses everybody. So I really liked it. And then 3 came around, and it was like, okay, what are they going to do now? And now it's a completely different movie that I liked equally, with Melinda Clarke and putting all the springs and pieces of glass into her, and so she doesn't eat her boyfriend. And it's got Sarah Douglas from Superman 2 and Kent McCord from Emergency, and just so many good things to it.
I'll have to take your word for it.
You jerk. All right, well, give us your number 4 then, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Okay. My number 4 is actually 2 movies because I could not decide.
Hey, this is my show. I get to do that.
I had to do it.
All right, lay it out.
Okay. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek First Contact.
See, I would have gone, if you'd have said 2 and 3, I'd give you my blessing. But you know, you can't pick a Kirk movie and a Picard movie.
Well, the reason I did this because I didn't want 2 Star Trek movies and 2 separate entries. Because there were other movies I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So I wanted to put them in the same universe because they occur in the same universe.
That's true. They're not in the Abrams universe.
Now, I've told you this before. I'm a huge Star Trek fan.
Yes.
Growing up, the first science fiction me and my brother were exposed to was between Star Trek and Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
Yes.
Tom Baker, right?
Tom Baker.
That's it.
It was one of those shows that me, my brother, my parents, we would stop what we were doing because by then it was in syndication.
Right.
We would stop what we were doing and we would actually all sit down and look at it.
How cool.
Like I said, that did not occur very often.
Right.
But I'll start with The Wrath of Khan.
Khan!
What I love about, now, you know that I'm like a huge majority of the country. I'm a huge fan of the motion picture.
Okay. You and Chuck both.
I know not a lot of people are, but I love the motion picture. The Wrath of Khan took that and multiplied it by 100.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Even though I still love the motion picture.
Yeah. It was just such a different movie.
Well, it was about exploration. Now, granted, they're exploring inside a giant probe,
right?
But it was still about exploration.
He said probe.
The Wrath of Khan, though, it was an action movie.
Yeah, it was a submarine movie.
Yes.
You know, Nicholas Myers did such an amazing job of giving you that feel.
Right. And, William Shatner, Ricardo Montalban. Oh, wow. Great actor, underrated.
Oh, yeah.
It shares the same theme with First Contact.
Right.
About vengeance.
That's true.
Revenge.
That's true.
In Wrath of Khan, Khan was out to get Kirk.
Right.
And in First Contact, Picard was trying to get revenge against the Borg.
Exactly.
And, revenge is a powerful motivator.
It is.
And it motivates both movies in, interesting places. These are 2 movies, or 2 of the movies I watch over and over.
I have to agree with you, and I understand now why you put the 2 of them together.
Right, because they share the same theme.
They do. They do share the same themes. There's so much. Actually, I have to tell you, Wrath of Khan was my number 2 movie. It is my most favorite, all of the Star Trek episodes, movies, it doesn't matter. That's my favorite thing. If I want a Star Trek, I'm going to watch Wrath of Khan.
Right.
When I was a kid, like 1982, I think when it was coming out, I remember having a poster that came out of like Time magazine. And then it was Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan, not Star Trek 2, you know. And I remember it was double folded, hanging up the wall. It was there for years. The things that movie did for the Star Trek universe,
Yes.
you know, I mean, I really think it would have died at that point if that movie had not come out.
I think so too.
Because as good as the motion picture was, and I'm not going to diss the motion picture, it was boring.
I'll give you that.
Okay, thank you. It was beautiful.
Yes,
it was very beautiful, especially that hour and a half where it drives by the Enterprise. I'm not sure. It might have been an hour and 15 minutes. But what he did, what Nicholas Myers and Harve Bennett, and based on, I think that was Sam Peoples originally wrote the Space Seed, but to take that little kind of forgotten nugget and just grow this amazing thing from it.
But you know, he went through every episode.
Every episode, that's what I heard.
Find a episode worthy of a sequel,
and that one was it. I mean,
yes,
that was, you know, and there's so many little things in that episode that stand out, and of course, everybody's going to say the Khan. You know, when Kirk calls out Khan, but the whole SETI Alpha 6 ear moles that go into them, and Kirk, you know, meeting his son, you know, and the guy that played David Marcus
was Merritt Buttrick.
Right. Okay. He was the perfect physical actor to look like the son of Carol Marcus and James Kirk.
Yeah. He
had the curly hair and he had the blonde hair.
Right.
And he just had the whole look to it. And I love the movie. That people can complain about it all the time. You know, of course, everybody complains because Walter Koenig never met Khan.
But there's been
retcons.
Yeah.
I agree with you, and I'm fine with all of them.
He was actually just on the night show.
Exactly. Or when he's sitting there going through all the computer files, the ship's logs.
Yes.
He was on there and saw his picture.
Right.
Or he was one of the crew that brought Khan down to the planet. Right. So there's all of these things, but I'm just saying it was. People will complain about it, but it's the most incredible Star Trek film. Yeah. Now, First Contact also reinvigorated it for me. As much as I enjoyed, say, Undiscovered Country and what? Yeah, see that face.
In my mind, the best Star Trek movies of the original series is 1, 2, and 3. Everything after that,
yeah.
They don't hold up as well. At some point, they just get silly.
I disagree with you especially about 6. I love 6. I love the way that they brought in Chang and the whole presidential assassination attempts.
Okay, well, I'll take back what I said.
Andy Mon.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, Andy Mon. So,
but there's one thing I have to say.
Okay, throw it down.
You know who we have to thank for Star Trek, don't you?
Gene Roddenberry?
I mean, more broader.
God?
Lucille Ball.
I know. Thank you, Lucy. Yes. It wasn't for Desilu Studios.
Exactly, because the board was going to pass on it. She actually vetoed them.
Right,
because she found the idea interesting.
Yeah. Wagon train to the stars.
And as they say, the rest is history.
That's right. That's a good one. Okay, so
your number...
My number 4. I think you're going to like my number 4.
What is it?
It's a movie from 2004. It's actually the remake of a sequel. It's got Zack Snyder as your director, working with a George Romero and James Gunn script. That's right. I'm talking about the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Oh my God, I love this movie so much.
Okay, your favorite is the remake,
right?
My number 3 is actually the original.
Okay, and I can sit here and debate you and agree with you on these because they're both such incredible films. Yeah. You wouldn't have had a good remake like you did if you didn't have the original underlying story.
Correct.
And yes, I understand that one's, the running zombies versus the slow zombies and all that. But what Snyder did with the franchise, I just think it was so well done. Taking that whole mall setting that was comedic and flipping it on its edge and still giving you the whole, fight the power, commercialism is bad, consumerism will eat you type deal. I mean, come on, there was a freaking zombie baby, Oh my God.
This thing was so gross.
So gross, so hard to watch.
But what I liked about it was the isolation.
Yes.
They were isolated. There was nobody coming to help.
Right.
They were by themselves. They had to survive.
Yeah. And Andy in the gun store across the mall parking lot, even more isolated. Oh, he's one of my favorite parts of that whole movie. Up until this podcast, I thought that was Keith Carradine.
Really?
I don't know why. It's just in my head. I did. And I looked it up, and it's a guy named, Bruce Bono or something like that.
Not familiar with
yeah, me, I wasn't even familiar with it. But literally doing this show's homework, I found that out. Because that's one of my favorite things. And on the DVD version of it, you get a special little DVD that is Andy's journal. And you can watch it and watch his decline as he runs out of food, and it's really, really neat.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I'll let you borrow it sometime.
Okay.
But I have to say, I'm gonna go ahead and let you talk about the original because I love the original too. That movie has the best opening scene of any film that I can think of.
Wait, which one?
The remake.
Okay.
When Sarah Polley. She comes in from a long day, and then she goes to bed, and she wakes up, and the little girl's there.
Yeah.
How quickly it goes from the Norman Rockwell, waking up with a fresh cup of coffee to total and complete chaos.
Exactly.
It was such a great film. But
now, for me, the original was meant to happen basically after the events of the first one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now, we're both familiar with the first one.
Right.
Awesome movie. Especially given the time it was made.
Mm-hmm. We could do a whole podcast just on that.
Yes. But in this one, it has one of my favorite actresses, Galen Ross.
Galen Ross, who is actually a name of a store in the remake in the mall.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I did not notice that.
Yep. Trivia.
Oh. Wait a minute. I love this movie because, like I said, when they're in the mall, they're isolated. Right. It's just them. And basically, you watch as their mental health just deteriorates.
Right in front of you, exactly.
Exactly. Like Francine, portrayed by Galen Ross. If you remember that scene where she's applying makeup and she's just looking in the mirror and she's handling her gun and, George Romero wanted to cut that scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he's like, you know what? This actually shows her decline. Mm-hmm. So he left it in there.
Yeah. I like the feeling that the movie starts out, in the inner city when you've got the officers going into the building, and it's just people everywhere, and then they go a little bit further and they go down to the news station, and there's not quite as many people, but it's almost like they've ramped up, if that's possible. The again, chaos, the anxiety that everybody has. And then they get away and they get in the chopper, and then you can breathe. Yeah, you can, let's go over to that little farm over there and gas up the chopper and get some Snicker bars, and we all know how that goes.
Right. You know what's really funny?
What?
Is that Ken Furry, who played Peter, when the kids come out and attack him? He wasn't expecting that.
Oh, really?
His shock, the look of shock on his face is genuine because he was not expecting children.
That's awesome. That was he's such a good actor. I've seen, he's actually one of the voices in the remake that you hear over. I know he's a TV evangelist. He's got a snippet on when they're playing different things on the TV. You can see him. And, of course, Tom Savini plays the sheriff in the remake.
Well, in the original, he was the lead gang member.
Yeah, right.
As well as a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
He, along with someone else in the production, did all the stunts.
I heard that.
In fact, he hurt himself on one of them.
Really? I've met Tom Savini.
You have?
Yeah, I've got a picture with him. He is the most unimpressed I've ever seen someone meeting me.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I have a Dawn of the Dead poster signed, and I have a little 35 millimeter snippet of the movie.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty cool.
You see, he's multi-talented.
Yes.
I mean, makeup artist, actor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on.
Oh, well, he's directed some.
Stuntman.
Exactly. And he's the sex machine.
But no, that is my number 3. I could look at this movie all day.
Oh, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I have a huge love for the original one. I will watch it almost as immediately as I would watch the remake.
Right.
But I feel like I've got 20 plus years with the original one, and so it's cool to see this one. And I don't necessarily have to compare them. Right. I can enjoy them independently.
Right. So can I.
Yeah.
They're both good.
They are.
I especially love the remake at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
You think they're getting away by going to that island, but then
you got to stay through the whole thing.
Exactly. You find out they're no safer than they were in that mall.
That's right. And then they don't have sacred grounds for their coffee.
Especially since they're out of fuel. They can't go anywhere else.
That's right.
But the ending is still ambiguous.
It is.
See them.
Because you don't. Yeah, exactly. There's no body, so you're not sure.
But yeah, good movie.
Well, great. Well, they're both great movies.
Yes.
That's all you could say. I mean, Romero, God rest his soul, left for us such a heritage that we're going to have great movies for a long time. I can tell. Okay, so fuzzy math here. We did your 5, my 4. That went to your 2. Carry the 7. Divide by aught. Does that mean it's my number 3?
Yes, it is.
Wow. My number 3. Let's go back to an age of 8-track tapes and hang 10 shorts. I'm talking about the summer of 1980, baby. I'm talking about Star Wars. The Empire Strikes Back. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I'm not going to do the licensing rights for me to sing the song.
In a galaxy far, far away?
It is in a galaxy far, far away.
Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, that is my number 2.
Get out.
Yep.
That is awesome. We are so, simpatico, Gus. So, The Empire Strikes Back is your number 2?
Yes.
Wow, that's cool. And where does that happen? Where does that movie take place?
In a galaxy far, far away.
Oh. That was last week, though, right?
Oh, even further than that.
No, it was a long, long time ago?
Oh, a lot longer.
All right, well, listen, as the guest, I'm going to concede to you. You give me your breakdown.
Okay. You know that I'm a huge fan of Star Wars.
Huge fan of Star Wars.
Oh, my God. When that movie came out, it blew my young little mind. Because I was already a science fiction fan.
Right.
But this took it to a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, I've never seen anything this sophisticated with science fiction.
Right.
Because you have to remember, before that, it was stuff like The Time Tunnel, Doctor Who,
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Right, stuff like that. Which, don't get me wrong, they did the best they could do with the budget that they were allotted. Star Wars, however, was something completely different.
Just amazing what they did with that.
Yes. So then in, the summer of 1980, you have The Empire Strikes Back.
That's right.
Which was even more awesome.
Mm-hmm. I feel the same way. I think episode 5 is the best.
Yes. I mean, I like how they picked up basically from Star Wars. Mm-hmm. With, they're on the run from the Empire.
Right.
They've temporarily stopped at a new base on Hoth. Mm-hmm. And, they're establishing, what's going on. They're out looking to see if there's anything they need to be worried about, which is when Luke gets attacked.
Right.
By the snow monster.
Right, by the Wampa. No, not Wampa.
Yeah. Wait, Wampa? Yes.
It is Wampa.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
It starts off slow.
And I'm sorry, I have to just jump in here. The Wampa wasn't doing anything wrong. Luke was invading his territory. That was his lunch, So he's kind of a bully. A Jedi bully.
Mm-hmm. And you're a shark sympathizer. That's the same excuse they use, but no, we ain't having it.
Oh, all right.
But it starts off slow, but they have to establish what's going on.
Right.
But when the Empire attacks,
right?
Wow, the ground battle. Usually, most ground battles I've seen before that were all history movies.
Yeah.
This was something different. Snow speeders, AT-ATs going at it. When Luke swirled around that AT-AT trying to entangle it in his cable.
Right.
Wow.
I know, right? And Treat Williams in the trenches. God, what more could you ask for?
When I was a kid, I wanted my own Millennium Falcon. I'm not talking about the toy.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a real Millennium Falcon.
I wanted a snow speeder.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know why. I was just that's the one that attracted me.
I wanted a Millennium Falcon so I could just go fly into space, fly through asteroids, go to Cloud City.
Oh, what?
It's just
hang with Billy D.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, Lando.
Yes. I had a Millennium Falcon. I had Slave One. I had all the action figures. I had even the cards.
Oh yeah, I know.
I had boxes and boxes of nothing. Nothing has enthralled me like Star Wars has.
So did you go to Burger King and get the stickers that you'd have to put 4 of them together to make a picture on?
My mother was not a fan of fast food.
Oh, gosh. So I still have my copies of Han Solo and the Mind Harp of Sharu or whatever, Han Solo at Galaxy's End. And I opened them up the other day, and inside of it there's 4 of those stickers together making a picture. I'm like, memories.
You know what? One of my favorite things I had that I still remember.
What's that?
It was, those folders you use for school that you could put your notebook paper in.
Right.
It was a shot of the Millennium Falcon fleeing from a Star Destroyer. The Star Destroyer, or maybe it was a TIE fighter, was firing upon the Millennium Falcon, and the laser is just
I
bouncing
remember
off of it.
one.
I had that for the longest time. I don't know what happened to it now. But
just keep all your crush's letters in there?
No, I just looked at it, wishing that I was in it.
Do you want to be Han or Chewie?
Han, of course.
Sorry, that was bad.
Oh, but that just brings back such memory.
I remember going and seeing that film and walking out. Okay, and I don't really even feel like I should have to say spoiler alert, but walking out of that movie and going, "Oh my God, Vader's Luke's father!"
I know.
What the heck?
I was like, "What? Is that true?"
I remember going and wanting to go see that movie again right away.
Oh,
I felt like I missed something somewhere.
I did too, but my mother wasn't having it. She was ready to go. But just the special effects in the movie.
Yeah.
Words fail me about how much I love this movie. It played an important part in my life.
And it still does, I mean...
Do we need to go to the prequels?
No, please don't. Okay. I'll talk about Revenge of the Sith, because it's not that bad of a show. I know, but I mean, it's like you've got 3 fingernails that you need pulled. Choose the one that's the shortest one. That's the one you're going to go with. I like the Revenge of the Sith. Yeah.
I'll give you that. The Phantom Menace, however, that's straight up blue.
That was horrible.
The only thing I remember about that movie is trade contracts.
I know, right?
It was like that was what the movie almost entirely consisted of, them fighting over these contracts. I'm like,
how did they make racist aliens? Oh my God,
that was kind of racist.
It really was.
But I'm not going there. All I'm saying is that it was a horrible movie.
It was.
I've had people tell me, well, you can't compare it to Star Wars because, you were younger then and you were more impressionable.
You damn right I can.
Yeah, exactly. Because the movie blew.
Movie blew. That's right.
A Star Wars movie should not consist of talk about contracts.
I am so with you. Oh, God.
Memories of Star Wars.
Memories of Star Wars. Wow. All right, so that's a number 2. That means that we've gotten to number 1. for both of us.
Okay.
So we're going to go back and recap right now.
Okay.
So what's your number 5?
10 Cloverfield Lane.
Number 4.
Was a tie between Star Trek Wrath of Khan and Star Trek First Contact.
Number 3.
Dawn of the Dead.
The original.
Yes.
And number 2.
Star Wars Empire Strikes Back.
And my number 5. Return of the Living Dead, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. Dawn of the Dead from 2004, the better remake. Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. And at number 2, Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan. Okay. Give us your number 1, Gus.
My number 1, it happens where in space where no one can hear you scream.
Okay.
Aliens, 1986, directed by James Cameron.
That's my number 1.
Then I don't need to tell you how great this movie is.
What a great movie! Oh my God!
Alien. I'll talk about Alien first.
Okay.
I love Alien.
The ultimate haunted house in space movie.
Exactly. Murder mystery. Not really, but
Hitchcockian.
They're getting picked off one by one.
Right.
What I like about this is that they didn't cast, for lack of a better word, pretty boys, pretty women,
the beautiful people.
Right. These were people who worked for a living.
That's right, and that's what the ship did.
Yeah,
it worked.
It was a mining ship, and these were miners.
Right.
And the way they interacted with each other, the way they were ready to go home because they were done.
Because they were done, they were tired.
Right.
And the last thing they wanted was that distress signal.
Exactly. They were ready. So as good as the first one was, Aliens took it a whole nother level. And
it was a whole nother movie. That's what I was referred to at the beginning of it. It took that part and told a whole nother level to it.
Right, this was science fiction action film.
Yes.
And, at this point, Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, the great Sigourney Weaver, because I love her, she basically has PTSD. That's true, because she survived a horrific experience. Yes, because Alien was horrific. I think the best example of that was when she was in the station, after she wakes up. Right. And she's dreaming, and the face, the embryo just burst out of her. Right. And, she wakes, she's all clutching her chest. Right. And yeah. So basically, she has PTSD. And I have to admit, Sigourney Weaver did a great job. She did an excellent job. Much like in the first one, she wasn't somebody to just sit by the side. No. She knew what needed to be done. Right. And she was nominated for an Academy Award for this movie. She was. I mean, that's the first time somebody. Exactly. I think it was nominated for 7 awards and won maybe 2. Not even in the best, but like sound categories or something. Which was still unheard of because science fiction rarely got nominated. Exactly. It rarely gets nominated now. And it goes to show you what a great job that she did. Yes. But in Aliens, she goes with the Marines to the planet. Yeah. Now, that there are several editions of the movie. Oh, yeah. Well, there's one where you find out her daughter died while she's on the station, so that adds a whole another element to it. A couple of years? Or a couple of months before she was found? Yeah, it was recent before she was... Right. Yeah. I'm going off of the special edition. Okay. Now, in this edition, it starts off on the colony. Right, with Newt's parents. Where they found the ship. Right. LV-549. Right. Newt. They show her with her parents. Right. And her brother. In like a motor vehicle or something. Right. They find the alien ship. Right. Do you know that her brother in the actual shot is actually her real life brother? No, that's cool. Christopher Hen. Wow. So did you know that Newt, after this movie, never acted again? Yes. She went on to become a teacher. Yeah. It was just interesting seeing what they were up to. But, so they lose contact with the colony, the company. They're busy. Right. So they send out the colonial Marines with Ripley. as an advisor, along with Burke, played by Paul Reiser.
Oh gosh, he was so good in that role.
He was, and what amazed me was that I've always seen him in like Goody Two Shoe Row.
Right, he played the weasel great.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, and you knew he was a weasel, but you didn't know how much.
Well, in the beginning, you think he's on her side.
Yeah, but I don't know. I kind of always got a little creepy feel off of him.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I did. But not to those lengths.
Right.
You know?
I didn't either. So they go and investigate, and they get there. The lieutenant who's in charge, who's on his first real combat mission,
right,
is totally useless.
Totally useless.
It was.
Luckily, Sergeant Apalm is there.
Well, we know why he was put on the mission.
Right.
The company wanted a sample.
Yeah.
But anyway, between them landing, when Ripley first encounters the Queen, just her reveal, that was an awesome scene where she just rises up in her crown. It's like, wow.
That was a 14-foot tall puppet that was operated by, I think, 8 or 10 puppeteers.
Yes.
Stan Winston actually built that.
No, that's right, because that was not a design by H.R.
Geiger.
No,
it wasn't.
Because they did. What's funny is that James did not invite him back because he thought he would be difficult to work with.
Right.
And he said he regrets that.
Yeah. Well, he still did a great job with it. He did a great job. So there's so many great people, great characters as well as actors in this movie.
Yes.
You've got Lance Henriksen as Bishop.
Right.
I mean, incredible. You've got, of course, Michael Biehn as Corporal Hicks.
Bill Paxton.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Game over, man. Game over. He's such a great actor. He really was. And, he directed Frailty.
Yes.
And he also directed the Fish Heads video. Fish heads, roly-poly fish heads.
I want to say I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, God.
I'm familiar with Frailty because I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
I still think it was the basis for Supernatural, but...
I thought the same thing.
A lot of people do.
Yeah. So two of my favorites have got to be Private Drake and Private Vasquez.
Yes.
On the Smart Guns,
Do you know...
I've met them both, by the way.
You have?
I have. I made a custom Star Trek figure of Jeanette Goldstein.
So you know what her deal was, right? Mm-hmm. You know that in the movie, she's Hispanic.
Right.
In reality, she's not.
Oh.
They used makeup to make her darker, and she put, she did a Hispanic accent.
Right.
I did not realize that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
When I actually looked at her, found out what her name was, I'm like, wait, that sounds Jewish.
Exactly.
And it just amazed me how I loved her character.
Yeah.
But back to Jeanette. When she went to audition, she saw that the title was Aliens. She thought they meant illegal aliens.
No way.
So she went in gangbanger clothes.
Oh, wow. I had not heard that story. That's funny.
And I thought it was funny, but I guess it was enough to impress them.
Yeah. Well, he fell in love with her. I mean, she's been in Terminator 2, which almost made the list.
Right. Actually, me too.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was going to be my honorable mention.
It's one of my honorable mentions. We'll have to talk about those in just a second.
Okay.
But she was in Titanic. She was in Star Trek Next Generations, for that split scene. She's in another of his films, too. But he always has a part for her,
she had to have been a great actress because I did not know that she was not Hispanic.
I know that would be either. I did not know that. I just thought she was playing it,
Well, I thought that was her married name.
Oh yeah.
But no,
it's a great movie. There's so many great things from that film. The get away from her, you bitch.
And I have to say this: one of my favorite names. Private Spunkmeyer.
Spunkmeyer. Get over here, Spunkmeyer.
I'm sorry. Now, yes, I'm being a little gross, but you know where I'm going with that.
I do.
It's just, I've never heard that name before, and seeing as what the root, the prefix of it is, I'm
right.
Okay. I wonder, did they do that on purpose, or is it really somebody named Spunkmeyer running around?
I know, right? I got to tell you that one of my favorite things about that movie. So the scene where Corporal Farrow, who is the pilot of the dropship, and she goes to get in, and it's got stuff on it, and then she calls down, and then Bishop's on the planet, and the storm's going and raging, and it's like, ETA, 16 minutes. Well, that, for whatever reason, has always stuck with me. And the other day, someone asked how long before I got there, and I went and Googled ETA 16 minutes aliens real quick. And I'll be damned if somebody hadn't made it into a GIF already. And I'm like, everything is on the internet. It's such a great pick, Gus.
Well, one thing is, it expanded, like we discussed at the very beginning. It expanded on Alien.
Right.
It built a universe around both movies.
Exactly.
The third one, not so much.
Third one gets a lot of hate, but if you kind of watch it by itself, and then Aliens Resurrection, but come on, she makes that basketball shot in one
that was an awesome
one take,
thing.
That's so cool.
Needless to say, because I want to end this on a positive note, I will not discuss Covenant or Prometheus.
Thank you.
I will not say anything more about either one of them.
This is a Covenant-free zone,
except that they sucked. In fact, I will say something.
Oh, come on. Now he's pulling us down.
Both those movies are basically about a spoiled robot.
Right.
With daddy issues. That's all they're about.
Yeah.
Now, I know James Cameron wants them to be about, advanced AIs taking over, but I'm like, no, that is not an alien movie.
Yeah, exactly.
The alien took a backdrop
I know.
to
I hated
David's
that.
issues. And I'm like, I came out of the movie theater mad. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
All right, so did you have some that almost made the list?
Terminator.
Is that the only one?
Yes.
Okay. Because I have to throw out my honorable mention. It's Jason X from 2001. The 10th in the Friday the 13th. I know.
Really?
I know. I don't know what it is. I absolutely love that movie. It was not on caliber to put on this list, but as sequels go, it is the most fun of all of those Friday the 13th. Now, 2 is, of course, like we've had this conversation before, it's really an extension of 1.
Right.
But for 10, they freaking put him in space.
Okay, I will be honest. I was kind of burned out on Friday the 13th by the 10th one.
Yeah, well, I was too. That's why you should see this movie. It's so great. They've got the robot. And Kane Hodder is Jason. He's the best of all the Jasons. And it's... Oh, man, for some reason, Jason X, man. Look, guys, it's okay. He only wants his knife back. Watch it. You'll get it. Wow. Well, great. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Gus. I've really been enjoying our times here. So we have to figure out what we're going to do next, and we'll put it on. Yeah. You think of some ideas?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll tease y'all with that. I'd like to thank all of you out there in the podcast universe for joining us for this episode of Fave Five From Fans. We love putting out this show and will continue to release episodes every Friday. You can find us through the AOC Podcast Network at www.aoc.org/fave-5-from-fans. Or you can subscribe to the show via Apple Podcasts and iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podbean, and pretty much wherever you get your podcast from. Please rate and review us so more people can hear about us. We'd also love it if you'd interact with us at Twitter at Fave 5 From Fans, on our Facebook page, and on Instagram. We here at Fave 5 From Fans are excited to be a part of the Slightly Irregular Podcast Network. You can find us at sipnet.us on the gram, as the kids say. The SIP Network is a varied group of podcasters like the Terrible Terror Podcast, the Podcast from Another World, Dead Hand Radio, Paranormal Activity Podcast, ooh, the Angry Dad Podcast, Back in Time Podcast, sorry for the song,
From the Wastes, and us, Fave Five From Fans. Be sure to check back with us next week as I invite Cody Chamberlain, local artist and imagination engineer, as we discuss our list of Fave 5 organized crime films. Films about the mob, films about gangsters, Goodfellas, maybe even a casino. So be sure to check back with us, and don't forget, it may not be the best, it may not be the most critically acclaimed, but if it's your favorite, that's good enough for us. This is Hulk Boy from Hollywood, signing off. Hey, Super Gus, say goodbye to the podcast universe.
Bye, Pod Universe.
Say goodbye to the podcast universe.